Hey everyone, and welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the corporate odyssey of an absolute giant. We're decoding the strategy of a globally dominant beverage brand, and to do that, we're going to use a classic business framework, the SWOT analysis. Mapping out the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We really want to see exactly how a massive legacy brand attempts to adapt to modern health trends. It's going to be a fascinating ride.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the giant's foundation. Second, the cracks in the armor. Third, the gathering storm. And finally, charting a new course. All right, let's just dive right into it.
Think about your last trip to the grocery store for a second. More and more shelf space is being dedicated to sparkling waters and health drinks now, right? Consumer tastes are radically shifting. So the core tension we're looking at today is this. How exactly does a beverage giant, one that's historically built on sugary drinks, survive a global health revolution?
Section 1, the giant's foundation. We're looking at the undeniable market strengths of the brand. So when we look at this brand's core strengths, the scale is, well, it's almost staggering. First off, they possess strong global brand recognition. Honestly, their logo is likely one of the most recognizable symbols on the planet. Backing that up is an incredibly extensive distribution network. And we're not just talking about getting trucks to supermarkets. This is an intricate global logistical web that ensures you can find their product in literally the most remote corners of the world. Plus, they're insulated by a really large product portfolio that spans well beyond just sodas. It includes juices, teas, and bottled waters, all backed by absolutely formidable marketing and advertising capabilities.
But beyond the massive ad budgets is something much harder to quantify, and that's high customer loyalty. See, this giant doesn't just sell a beverage. They sell a habit and a memory. That multi-generational loyalty is an ultimate competitive advantage. It's essentially an economic moat that money alone simply cannot buy.
Moving on to Section 2, cracks in the armor. These are the internal weaknesses threatening the empire.
Now, if you look closely at their operations, three massive internal vulnerabilities really start to emerge. The most obvious one? Increasing concerns over sugar consumption. For a company historically built on sweet treats, a societal shift against sugar is an absolute existential risk. And closely tied to this is their overwhelming dependence on carbonated beverages. Sure, they have that large portfolio we just mentioned, but actually, those fizzy, sugary sodas are still the heavy lifters of their revenue. Finally, there's the growing environmental criticism. They're facing severe pushback against single-use plastics and their massive industrial water usage, putting them squarely in the crosshairs of modern sustainability debates. And this right here brilliantly illustrates a dangerous collision. You take that massive internal dependence on carbonated beverages, and you just crash it head-on into a severe external threat, government regulation. The very product that built their empire is now being actively targeted by policymakers worldwide through strict sugar taxes and aggressive advertising bans. It's a real wake-up call. Which brings us to Section 3, the gathering storm. Let's look at the external threats on the battlefield. Now, what's really interesting here is seeing how the brand is being squeezed from three very distinct angles. First, under competition, they're fighting these agile, emerging domestic brands that are hyper-tailored to local tastes, and that's on top of their eternal rivalry with Pepsi. Then, consumer trends show a massive shift towards health consciousness, driving people away from those core legacy products. And economically, the cost of doing business is soaring due to rising raw material and packaging costs. It's just a compounding pressure on their margins, their market share, and consumer sentiment all at once. Finally, Section 4, charting a new course. What are their strategic opportunities for survival? So, to combat the whole sugar stigma and these new health trends, the brand is initiating a rapid product evolution. They're looking directly at the premium beverage segment, higher margin drinks that appeal to a more discerning consumer. Even more importantly, they're leaning heavily into the development of functional drinks and hydration products. We're talking sports drinks, probiotic kombuchas, vitamin-infused waters, stuff that offers a perceived health benefit rather than just a quick sugar rush. They are literally trying to turn their biggest threat into their biggest new opportunity. Let's see how this builds into a cohesive three-step strategy. Step 1 is geographical, capturing growing rural markets where brand penetration can still expand significantly. Step 2 is product-based, aggressively pushing those healthier, functional beverages we were just talking about. And Step 3 is operational, maximizing digital commerce to reach consumers directly, seamlessly, and with way lower overhead.
It's a highly calculated three-pronged attack designed to stabilize the ship and find new avenues for growth. Which brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? We've seen their incredible foundational strengths, but we've also mapped out some pretty severe vulnerabilities and external storms. With the whole world rapidly moving away from sugar, can this traditional legacy giant innovate fast enough to keep its crown? I want you to think about that. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, definitely keep your eyes on the beverage aisle next time you're at the store to see exactly how this strategy plays out in the real world.